Bonjour, bonjour. How are you? Excellent. Thank you. I would like to tell you a story about a book that I did not know I was going to write. I live in Silicon Valley. I have been studying digital disruption, emerging technologies for the last 20 years. I've been a champion of next generation tech. I've traveled the world to help promote technology and the evolution of organizations and businesses and schools and universities. And somewhere along the way, I found myself affected by the very technologies that I was studying. I was trying to write what would have been my 8th book, and I just couldn't get past the proposal stage. I struggled with writing and critical thinking and depth. And at first I just blamed writer's block, or just too much pressure, or too many things to do at the same time. But after some research, I had learned that there are effects for using these devices and social media and games for long periods of time. I had no idea, because it was not anything that was ever really promoted. The first thing that I learned is its relationship to creativity. And when you start to lose creativity of any kind, you start to risk everything. Beauty, innovation, art, poetry. All forms of expression become compromised because we're learning how to swipe, how to talk to Alexa, how to scroll, how to share favorite moments, how to learn and love likes and followers. So I spent the next 2 years researching what are the effects, what are the real effects of using mobile devices and social media every day. I was a hopeless optimist. I still am an optimist. But when you learn the design secrets behind a lot of these apps and services, you then have to rethink your relationship with not only technology, but with where you are in the world and where you want to be. In 2007, the most disruptive device on humanity was introduced, and it was the iPhone. It had the promises of music to go everywhere, a camera, everything that you needed to be connected all the time, and I couldn't wait to have it. The world couldn't wait to have it. And you add that to social media. This is what the social media world looked like at that time. And then if you look just 10 years later, these were the apps and services we were using every single day. And there was a beauty in this because it democratized information. It made the world a much smaller place. We could connect with people all over. We could share and we could follow the lives of other people, and it was magical. It gave everyone a voice. It gave everyone the ability to create content, to consume content. We created communities around passions and interests. We inspired movements and we inspired change. In 2011, the world was able to see through Twitter a movement called the Arab Spring that brought the world together through Twitter to support our brothers and sisters in another part of the world. And then we started to get distracted. We started to use all of this as a means to always be connected, to miss the world around us. This is a real Kickstarter project. I don't even think it's a good idea, to be honest with you. Just put the phone on the table. How many of you have one of these? I think the thing about this product is that it's missing a battery pack. And imagine the FaceTimes that you'll get. It's me, I just had an idea, I wanted to call you. Think about 10 years from now, if this is our behavior today, and with the next generation of technologies, what is it going to look like? Well, probably a lot like this. This is a real person having lunch in an entirely new world. I don't even know where he is. But there's a beauty in the picture. If you look at the gentleman behind him, looking at me, taking a picture of him, it's a beautiful moment. It's something that really shows the past, present, and the future all in one picture. And he probably didn't even know it happened. But I want you to take a moment. This is a moment that I had to go through. To start asking questions about our relationship with technology. Do we own the relationship with technology, or does technology own us? And as an optimist, as a digital analyst, as a digital anthropologist, I actually think we let technology take control. It was intoxicating. We had people who followed us. We had people who commented on everything that we do. We became the center of our own universe. We wanted more and more and more until suddenly we found that we couldn't put our devices down. When did we get so busy? When did being glued to our screen become normal? When did it become so difficult to focus? When did it be okay to multitask and to shift from this to that? When did it become okay to consume the lives of everyone else instead of living our own life? When did it get so hard to stand still? These are pictures of the public offerings of Facebook and the IPO of Twitter when they went on the stock market. And these are important pictures because these are the moments that two of our favorite social networks, and eventually Instagram, because Facebook owns them, became publicly traded companies. And the minute that happens, the user experience takes second place to shareholder returns. These networks became commercial entities. Make no mistake, Facebook likes to tout itself as a place for freedom of speech, but it is a commercial network. All games and all social networks operate on what's called attention economics. The more attention they have of you and me, the more they can sell it. And the more they can sell it, the more they can return shareholder value. So for example, the like button, the heart button, those became early forms of feedback loops that were designed to capture more and more attention. What they didn't know then were the effects of what happens to you and me when we start to receive likes. As we've all probably heard, that likes tend to release things like dopamine or oxytocin or serotonin. But when they flood your body, you feel great. But what your body naturally does is want more of it. And so you share more to get more. I'm sure there are people in the room who have posted a picture that didn't get a lot of likes, so you deleted it, only to post it again later and say, that feels good. On a shareholder call, Netflix's CEO was asked, "Who is your biggest competition?" And his answer was sleep. And we're winning. And he's right. Every one of these services competes for your attention, which is why they're designing, it's called Persuasive Design, ways to make you spend more time engaging on the platforms. And this is important because at some point, you and I became the product. Without saying, yes, of course, change my behaviors so you can make more money. But over time, investors, executives, founders started to come out to talk about the effects, the secret effects, the designs of a lot of these technologies that weren't made public before. And it's important because I still use these platforms. I just do so differently now that I know. So if you think about it, Snapchat turns conversations into moments that disappear. And that strips away the depth of interactions that define relationships. If you think about Instagram and a lot of people we follow, everybody is an influencer. It glorifies this picture-perfect life, this aspirational self that affects self-esteem and happiness over time, and not only for yourself, but for the people you follow, because they never feel like they're good enough. Facebook, think about Facebook today with Brexit and the United States politics and how polarizing relationships have become. Everything's turned into an echo chamber, and we're starting to isolate real friendships. And YouTube, whether it's glorifying conspiracy theory videos or cats playing piano, before you have a chance to even think about it, the next video starts playing. And then 3 hours later, I've got some things I need to do. So there's real effects. And I share this with you because we now have to be not just mindful and aware of our relationship with technology, but more importantly, we live in a world where artificial intelligence and machine learning and conversations about, are they going to take our jobs? Are the machines here to displace us? Well, creativity has never been more important. Individuality hasn't been more important than now. Originality. You. Because what's happening to all of us as a result of these design techniques to capture your attention is it's of course making it harder to disconnect. It's increasing stress and anxiety. We're losing sleep. The blue light is going to make everybody have to wear glasses at some point. But also it's lowering our self-esteem picture by picture. We're moving so quickly. We're seeing so many crazy news cycles that it's reducing our ability to feel empathy and compassion in important moments. And lastly, it's eroding our ability to think critically and deeply And that's when I realized that I had to fight this in order to get back on track to write my next book. But we're not even done yet. This is a real quote from a founder who is working on next generation platforms, and I want to share it with you. We use artificial intelligence and neuroscience to increase your usage. We want to make apps more persuasive. It's not an accident. It's a conscious design decision. We are designing minds. The biggest tech companies in the world are always trying to figure out how to juice people. Who doesn't want to sign up for that app? I want to be juiced. And he's serious. So what's happening as a result of our usage of all of these things? Science is finally starting to show that it's training our brains to expect regular interruptions. We're speeding up our minds and our bodies in order to compensate for all of this. If you just look at it in the workplace, today's workforce spends about 2 hours per day checking their smartphone. Every time there's a notification, or if they want to check what's happening in their social network, or if they want to respond to someone. And this is outside of things like Slack. That's a lot of lost time in productivity, but more so, it slowly erodes depth and the ability to create better output, better quality. In fact, if you are in a deep cycle, like in my case, trying to write a book or doing research, and I reach for my phone because I got a text message, some studies show that it'll take 23 minutes to get back to where you were. And if you do that over time, throughout the day, it's almost impossible to produce high-quality creative work. In fact, we call it multitasking, but it's really a lie. It's task switching. And every time you shift your attention from one thing to another, you're engaging a neurochemical switch that uses up nutrients in here to do that, essentially fuel. So the more you do this, if you're doing 4 to 5 things at once, you're expending this fuel, but you're not really in the moment of any one thing. You're not giving it your full potential, your full attention, because that's not the way the brain was designed to work. It's being rewired to work that way, but that doesn't necessarily mean that just because we can keep task switching, that doesn't mean that we're being our best selves in those moments. And when you really start to study multitasking and task switching, you see that the effects aren't good. Add to that the stress of low self-esteem and anxiety and comparing yourself to everybody else and all of this stuff. It's not on a good trajectory. Yet, we didn't sign up for any of this. I don't remember reading about this in the terms of service when I signed up for Instagram or TikTok. So I want to share with you what I call a prelude to innovation, because creativity and innovation go hand in hand. And in this era, where we're not just seeing so much technology coming at us, AI, machine learning, 5G, quantum computing, the human innovation in how we think and how we see the world, this is our time. There are 2 separate attention networks that we have in our brains. One is a conscious system and allows us to focus on the tasks that we have at hand. The other is the unconscious network, and that is where persuasive design strikes. That's where a lot of these techniques are aimed to distract us. But if we focus on creativity, if we focus with the intention of outcomes, if we focus on self-expression in how we talk and how we interact with one another in the real world as well as what we do online, that starts to rewire your brain in a different way, where you start to use technology in alignment with a new direction. Because creativity is original ideas that have value. Original ideas that have value. And if you look at, say, something like TikTok, most of the time, those are self-expressions of following memes of other people to be part of the trend. Not that that's a bad thing, but they are not original ideas that have value. Creativity is something that, like art, we've sort of been trained out of. We were all artists at one point in our life, in our own way. Instead, we've embraced processes of linear thinking, analytical ways of knowledge. Not a bad thing. But when we don't allow ourselves to explore creativity, we miss out on actually quite a bit. Life is less alive without creativity. Life is less alive when we're constantly scrolling and not allowing ourselves to even just take a breath. Creativity is a natural part of human thinking and behavior. It is something that can be unblocked and re-engaged, and it's something that I practice now every day. There's several types of creativity. There's a spectrum, right? But let's just call it big C creativity, like Van Gogh or Picasso. And then there's little c creativity. These can be the most random of things. Learning a new recipe, teaching a dog a new trick, learning a new dance, practicing handwriting with your other hand, singing horribly in the car to your favorite song. As you do those things, and as you regularly make time for those, it releases aspects and chemicals and neurons in your body that actually productively wire and rebalance yourself in ways that allow you to think not just creatively, but individually. And if you look at the long list of benefits of everyday little c creativity, you're essentially engaging your brain. With creativity, you're stopping time, whereas distractions waste time. Creativity opens you up to empathy because you're feeling in that moment because it's such a personal form of expression. It stimulates reflection that we don't even give ourselves time for anymore, which enhances self-awareness, our connections with ourselves, our aspirations, and those around us. It builds self-confidence, and it gives a voice to parts of us we forgot or didn't know existed. More importantly, creativity teaches you what it's like to take small risks. And small risks, even though the public perception of taking risks can be dangerous, or it goes against the status quo or conventions, it is the key to innovation. I cannot take risks. I cannot be creative, said Steve Jobs. No, just kidding. He didn't say that. Science also shows, and this is really interesting, that creativity is literally the fountain of youth. In fact, in senior care facilities, they're starting to teach painting and dancing and introduce all kinds of just creative expression because they found that it has super positive impacts on health. It actually takes years off your life because you're allowing yourself to express yourself in new and wonderful ways. True innovation is a matter of perspective. There's what we see because it's how we live life every single day. And how we live life every single day sort of reinforces what we see and what we believe. This is why you have so many believers of fake news and polarizing relationships because we develop and strengthen our cognitive biases by what we do online. But when you shift your perspective, when you take a step back, when you take a deep breath, you can see the world in a new way. And this is the optimist in me. That if we could take this moment to reimagine our relationship with this and to find time and ways to be more creative, and even using this as an extension of that creativity, then we don't have to delete apps. We don't have to be on a permanent digital detox. We simply have to reimagine where we're going and why. We have to visualize it. We have to tell ourselves that I see my aspiration as this, and I am going to do these things. I'm going to use technology. I'm going to express myself. I'm going to build networks around me in ways that help me achieve what I visualize. And that's powerful. That's life-changing. Because right now, think about the networks that we have. We're connected to so many people that are probably ruining our experiences online. It's changing how we express ourselves. It's changing how we consume. It's affecting our mindsets, our moods, our feelings. This is actually a moment where we need new leadership. And by leadership, I don't mean management. I don't mean hierarchy. I just mean new and fresh thinking, creativity, and people who empower one another to create communities of good in society who do amazing things for the world and for one another in every way that we express ourselves, with everyone with whom we connect. That changes everything. Because I want you to think about this. With so much craziness, with so much chaos online, with news cycles that we believe the world is ending every single day, with people who we know who will yell at us or will troll us or will bully us into following their ways of thinking and their beliefs, where can we possibly find the light? In a world of darkness, you have a choice. You can be part of the darkness, or you can be the light. I choose to be the light because it changes the dynamics of who I'm connected to and who's connected to me. Every single day, every single expression, every single reaction. Be the light. Innovation, creativity, if it's aimed at things that create value, that deliver positive energy, that help, that offer guidance, that make people laugh, that offers relief and reprieve, that promotes positive engagement, that validates people that they are good enough with who they are right now, and supports them in becoming who they want to be tomorrow. Not this idea of a future self based on what you saw on Instagram. That innovation and creativity gives you hope, and that it empowers you to be better, but also good enough. That is the promise of true innovation and true leadership and true creativity. And this is why this is your moment to leave today to be the light. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you. Just a quick question before the short break. Okay. You travel the world. You see all different cultures and practices. And do you see main differences between Switzerland, or I would say Europe, and the US and China, for example, talking about our relationship with social networks?
Yes and no. There are different levels of engagement, usage, addiction, what have you, self-expression. But what the internet has been really good at over the last 20 years, not just with social media, is creating a global community of people who share similar behaviors, similar interests, similar outcomes. China is unique in its own way because it's hyper-contextualized and controlled by the government. So in China, for example, you have credit scores for people based on how they use social media, which is really Black Mirror.
Black Mirror in real life.
IRL. And the thing about it is that when I travel the world, and what's become the mission, especially for this book, is to try to help everybody understand that regardless of where you live in the world, you still have a life, and you still have people around you in the real world that could all benefit from a more mindful and present you.
Wow. And I can't let you go without asking you, do you have a clue of your next book? You know, I'm a huge fan. What will be the topic? We won't tell anyone.
Surprise. Well, first of all, it's trying to find the time to do it.
Okay.
Oof, that was hard. But yes, I do. And I'm toying with actually going back to finishing the book I started before this one.
Okay. Well, we won't let you go without a little surprise for the audience. Just stay here. Then 4 people are going to win a book of you, signed by yourself.
All right.
And you're going to choose one.
Oh boy.
You'll throw true, and I'll throw true.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope not to hurt anyone.
Donc c'est la BCGE, impliquée dans le tennis, qui est un partenaire fidèle de CREA, vous offre un
Okay,
livre.
you first. If I hear anybody scream, I'm not gonna.
I'm gonna do. You take this, Solis.
Okay, I'll choose this.
Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
Good catch.
Nobody hurt.
You go. You get a huge fan there. Almost.
Oh.
Almost. I go for it. Within.
Whoa! It's like a baseball game. Right there. Your hand went right up. Oh, yes! Way to catch.
Okay. So there's 4 copies signed by Brian.
Thank you. Good stuff.
Thank you.